Level 1. The civilian. You are a civilian. You wake up to headlines about conflict, a distant invasion, a border dispute, reports of explosions on TV. At first, it feels distant, something happening to someone else. You scroll past the videos and the maps. Then civilians start dying. Refugees begin fleeing. Food prices spike. You feel it in your local supermarket. You hear it in conversations at work. Fans of war or critics of war, they all speak loudly. You feel the tension. Ukraine, a country fighting off a brutal invasion that began with Russia's attack in 2022, is still at war years later, with no clear end in sight and cities under periodic bombardment. Russia calls it a special military operation. Ukraine calls it survival. From your couch, war sounds like geopolitics, but war always makes it personal. Level 2. The volunteer. One day, you hear the stories. Towns shelled, homes destroyed, and you realize this conflict is no longer abstract. You decide to serve. You leave your old life for a training camp. You shoulder your first rifle. The smell of gun oil doesn't feel foreign. You are no longer a spectator. Now you train with others who left jobs, families, cities, everything. You don't feel heroic. You feel necessary. On the battlefield, you learn the first hard truth of modern war. War isn't bullets and tanks alone. It's infrastructure bombed. It's networks broken. It's electricity gone. It's communication lines scrambled. You see soldiers react to drones overhead, silhouettes flying fast, sometimes silent, sometimes deadly. You notice the way civilians organize shelters and first aid. War changes everyone in its path. Level 3. The squad leader. You rise, not by choice, by need. Your commanders recognize firmness under pressure. You make life and death decisions. You understand your men and women look to you for direction. Your decisions matter on a scale the civilian world never taught you. In Ukraine, volunteers and regular troops alike often moved from basic enlistment into frontline command because the battlefield demanded it. You see the evolution of warfare, not just frontline combat, electronic warfare, cyber attacks, a power grid taken offline by remote operators, misinformation online that shapes morale. This is modern war, not just soldiers firing guns, but entire infrastructures under attack. You realize war is a battle for minds as much as it is for territory. Level 4. The company commander. Now you command a company. Hundreds now look to you, not individually, but as one force. You organize patrols, coordinate defenses, make schedules for food, ammo, medical care. Your decisions affect not just survival, but strategy. War reveals systemic vulnerabilities. Supply chains break. Logistics become lifelines. Missing trucks can cost lives. Broken radios can cost missions. Yet even as you see this, higher tensions unfold on the global stage. In the Middle East, what once seemed localized has exploded into broader engagement. In 2026, joint US and Israeli military strikes on Iran have sent shockwaves through the region as Tehran retaliates and missile fire races across borders, dragging more nations into sustained confrontation. Oil routes shut down. Markets tremble. All because a war that started elsewhere now affects everything. You realize war at your level isn't just territory, it's global interdependence. Level 5. The battalion leader. You rise again. Now a battalion leader. Thousands under your watch. Not just soldiers, their families, their futures. The war you fight is bigger now. It's about adaptation. Modern units operate as networks, not isolated squads. Drones, long-range systems, satellites, and real-time intelligence shape every engagement. You make calls not just based on intuition, but on streams of data. War and diplomacy blur. You watch news feed reports of global powers watching each other like hawks. Across the Pacific, tensions simmer in the Taiwan Strait, where the memory of past crises and the fear of future conflict shape defense strategies on both sides. Taiwanese leaders consider conscription reforms and national defense posture based on what they see in Eastern Europe. You understand. Wars today aren't isolated. They influence every theater. You teach your battalion never to underestimate the geopolitical spillover. Level 6, the General. People call you General, not for prestige, for responsibility. Your jurisdiction spans entire divisions. Your command coordinates strategy across hundreds of kilometers. Your maps are political and physical. You don't just think about terrain, you think in alliances. How does the United States posture forces in the Gulf? How does NATO sustain supply lines into Eastern Europe? How does China adjust naval deployments near Taiwan? War to you is orchestration, not just chaos. You design campaigns that involve not just boots on the ground, but international logistics, intelligence sharing, sanctions, cyber defenses, and economic warfare. You recognize the modern battlefield. Soldiers at the front, satellites in orbit, drones overhead, cyber networks humming, social media shaping public sentiment, all connected. You brief ministers on readiness, posture, and risks. The war is no longer about borders. It is about influence. Nothing happens in isolation. Ukraine's fight echoes in Indo-Pacific defense structures. Middle East tensions reverberate in oil markets and strategic pivots. Every movement you make is watched, interpreted, and counter-interpreted by allies and adversaries alike. Level 7. The Defense Minister. Now your voice matters in government. You are no longer merely strategic. You are political. You address cabinets. You balance budgets. You talk alliances, treaties, and international law. War now involves diplomacy, sanctions, defense pacts, military aid. You argue for allocations to secure air defenses. You negotiate with foreign counterparts for intelligence sharing. You see war take a systemic shape: economic, informational, technological. You analyze oil market disruptions caused by expanding conflict in the Middle East, which have global ripple effects beyond the battlefield. As defense minister, your job is to mitigate risk, protect civilians, and project stability. You brief the president. You emphasize deterrence. You discuss Taiwan Strait readiness, not because war is here, but because it's a possibility that can't be ignored. Now, war isn't just a territorial contest. It's about protecting systems, economies, and populations. Level 8. The President. You are president. Everyone listens. You define national posture, not just militarily, politically, economically, socially. You inherit wars in progress. You inherit alliances and rivalries. Ukraine remains in conflict years after its start, absorbing strategic attention while global powers weigh in with their own strategic interests. You must decide when to send aid, when to negotiate, when to step back, when to escalate. Your choices echo. Every word you say may calm tensions or inflame them. Your generals and ministers brief you daily on global hotspots. The Middle East faces sustained confrontation. Globally strategic oil routes are at risk, all because war has expanded beyond its original fronts. You talk to allied leaders. You coordinate sanctions. You stabilize markets. You announce defense treaties. You try to prevent escalation near Taiwan. You hope conflict doesn't erupt there, because another war in Asia would stretch global military capacity thin. War at your level is policy. Public opinion matters. Elections matter. Alliances matter. The battlefield now includes capitals, markets, parliaments, and intelligence agencies. You bear responsibility for decisions that affect millions. Some will never know your name, yet they will feel the outcomes of your choices. Level 9. The cost of command. War always demands a cost. As president, you feel it deeply. Soldiers die, economies strain, families dissolve, global markets wobble, oil prices surge on fear alone, even when infrastructure remains intact. You watch refugee streams, supply chains, and diplomatic cables. You watch fragile democracies struggle. You know many decisions won't be judged in your lifetime. You see war reshape societies. Some become more resilient, others fracture. War reveals truth about allies, about enemies, about the fragility of peace. Modern war isn't won purely on the battlefield. It's won in negotiations. It's won in alliances. It's won in economic resilience. It's won by the population's belief that peace is better than conflict. Level 10. The end game. You speak from the podium. You reflect on the cost. War may linger. Wars seldom end neatly. Some become frozen conflicts. Others erupt elsewhere. You must ask, did we protect what mattered most? Did we preserve life, liberty, dignity? Modern war tests not just armies, but societies. Time will tell how history judges this era. War isn't a single event. It's a journey through fear, strategy, conviction, and consequence. And in every war, you are shaped by every level you climb.